I met Devin about 2 or 3 years ago, and he mentioned that he runs the Sleep Science Academy. I thought, oh, that's awesome. I need help with my sleep. And then we started talking about cost. I was like, yeah, maybe I don't need that much help with my sleep. And I allowed the cost to prevent me from getting help. And once I was in the program and seeing like, oh, this is stuff I wouldn't be able to even know on my own, or I would be like piecemealing it and maybe reading a book or something. I remember actually after his Devin's audiobook came out, I found it at 4 a.m. because I woke up in the middle of the night, like, all right, I can't sleep. Let me read this audiobook. And I was like, all right, it's time to invest. And so what I would say to somebody who's debating is it's time to invest. If you're even listening to this testimonial, you're kind of going back and forth. I would say it's time to invest because what you get back in sleep, I know I already earned the money back for sure myself, just because in my waking hours, I already can make the money back, but I can't. I learned I couldn't get my sleep back. And there's really nothing else I could do to replenish that. So I'm grateful I made the investment, and encourage you, if you're watching this testimonial and you're this far in it, that you go for it, because they also have a money back guarantee. So it's that helped me to feel safer coming into it. And as soon as I got into it, I was like, okay, I can see why they offer it, but I can see why no one ever takes them up on the offer, because if you do the program, you're going to get benefit. Before the Sleep Coaching Academy, I tried lots of things. At one point I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, so I was using a sleep apnea machine. I was trying lots of over-the-counter medications, getting prescriptions from the doctor for sleep medications as well. I was trying things like staying in bed longer or trying to cut out my caffeine. I was doing a lot of different strategies, but one thing I really appreciate is more putting it into a system that helped me to take a lot of these skills that I've been developing and put them in the direction that helped motivate me to keep them going. And then also the data that helped me to track my progress and know, like, great, I am making progress, even if every day I don't wake up and feel that way. So that was super important piece that I wasn't getting anywhere else but with the Sleep Science Academy. So before working with SSA, my sleep was inconvenient to say the least. I feel like I was having to sacrifice my sleep, and if I wanted to succeed in the world, and so it became a tension point for me. It was also, I found myself doing a lot of processing in my sleep of trying to think through big ideas. Like I was still working while I slept, which made when I would show up or wake up exhausted, show up to work exhausted. And so after working with SSA, it was really important for me to see that I could actually rest more. I found myself dreaming more. Like I had actual dreams again, and they're not about work, and it helps me to know that I'm unwinding. I was kind of seeing myself shifting from like sixth gear, all revved up, to getting myself closer to the third, second, and first, and neutral, and actually being able to sleep in a way that felt more neutral and more restorative. In terms of noticing improvements in my sleep, I think it was a progressive process. In about the 8 weeks, I imagine it was about halfway through, in the sense where it felt noticeable for me. I think we were tracking with using the OURA ring, and talking through with the coaching, and talking through what was working. And I think there was a lot of strategies that were working well to help me even navigate my anxiety, and navigate my perfectionism, and things that were preventing me from even relaxing around expectations. So I noticed those things almost immediately. I think when seeing it translate into sleep took about 4 weeks. And then it was interesting to then, as the Oura ring was also tracking it behind the scenes, which is what I mentioned earlier, that progress was happening even before I could cognitively see the difference. And what was interesting too is at one point being able to, shift away from the CPAP machine, which was one of the biggest prevention, or one of the biggest reasons I started to look for additional resources. And so to have that come towards the end of the sleep training for me was a miracle that I wasn't expecting in this program. I was hoping to have it, but I know we talked about reducing expectations. So to have that come out of that process was such a game changer for me. So improving my sleep has improved my life in one, that I'm giving myself more room to breathe, and giving myself more room to focus on the things that are important to me. We did some persona work throughout the program, and so giving myself a little bit more room to have fun. And when there's times that, for example, on a week like this one, there are times where I'm choosing to prioritize a little bit of work over my sleep, but it's interesting that I know I can return back to a better process of balancing and a better process of winding down. So even if I am a little bit later than I ideally want to be, I can still wind myself down and give myself the use all the other techniques to make sure that the sleep I get, even if it's less, it's better than when I was doing none of this. And so I appreciate the flexibility of the program also allowed to allow myself to move and operate in a way that the my work still requires. Who is this program designed for? I'll ask, who is it not designed for? I guess that's kind of the bigger question for me, especially some of the content around acceptance, some of the content around expectations, around how we see the world and the stories we're bringing. I know it can help anybody who is struggling to be present in one, and knowing that sleep is a product of our presence and throughout the day, and our ability to be more aware of how what we're taking in, how we're processing it, and how we're releasing it before our sleep. So I think people who are having sleep troubles like myself will seek out this program the most. But I imagine anybody who really listens to Devin and what Devin has to say, and the frameworks he provides, is going to benefit. So certainly for those who may be struggling with sleep, and for anybody who wants to sustain a more balanced and restful life so they can have a more fulfilling life.